Morning, everybody. Welcome to the Unity session. Unity is a green tea. It's from Anhui province. It's a small varietal. So last week we talked about the collective and how we build relationships. I want to continue to build on that discussion because there's still lots. And I'm really thankful that a couple of weeks ago, a number of things came up and I realized, okay, there needs to be more explanation. So I ask you this as the starter question. Did we just on foot or by car, doesn't matter, or by train, walk, ride, or travel all over China, farm to farm to farm to farm, and just discover these things? Hey, maybe we were really smart. Maybe back in 2000, we used AI to go ahead and tell us which farms are. Oh, wait a minute. AI hadn't been invented yet. Actually, all of those of you who are technically inclined, even though I'm wearing linen, know that that was a lie. LLMs, large language models, were invented many years ago, but it wasn't the craze that it is now. The answer is no, we did not. We relied on relationships. You can't research your way into finding where all these teas are. You simply can't. Even if you use AI, you cannot. It's an impossibility because of how it's structured in China. Small varietals, is it famous? Yes and no. It is famous among scholars, tea scientists. Is it famous anywhere else? Well, among some nutritionists, but how would you know this? Well, if you lived in the Qing dynasty a couple hundred years ago, you would have known this because within the Qing dynasty, this thing was famous. So what happened between the end of the Qing dynasty and the start of modern day China? You had confusion. You had warlords. You had civil war. You had Japanese invasion. You had a bunch of things occur. And everybody returned to the beginning at the start of New China. Why? That was the easiest thing to do. So the first tea conference, which produced the 10 famous teas in 1957, focused on the most popular, most well-known teas. But if you had been back in the Qing dynasty in the 1700s, you would have already heard about unity because unity at the court was one of the famous teas as popular and as well known as Dragonwell.
So if I put the word unity into an AI device, I'll see that so I can verify that you're telling the truth.
I love this question, questioning whether I'm telling the truth. But as you all know, this is Lennon, so I have to be telling the truth. No matter what AI says, I am telling the truth. So, hey, this makes me wonder, was Unity drunk any other place except China? Because remember, I've already given away it's a small varietal. Turns out it was being drunk in a few places in Europe. It was already on the export train. Oh, no, there's not a train between China and Europe. On the boats to Europe. Where in Europe was this going and how early? In the 1700s, it was already going to Sweden. Wow. Odd, isn't it? Why was it going to Sweden? Because Sweden had a couple ships that went over the maritime Silk Road, landed in Canton province, picked up this tea, and brought it back to Sweden, among other teas as well, silks, ceramics, other goods. So this was part of a generalized purchase that Sweden was making. 1745, they're driving the ship back to Sweden. They could see Sweden. It was only about 100 meters from the ship. This is probably why they had an accident, because everybody's jumping up and down and celebrating. Hey, we're home, we're home. Boink, hit a reef, sank the ship. Can you imagine all the investors on shore, all cheering as this ship is coming in, and then they see all their money at the bottom of the ocean? Not a pretty sight. So this ship lay deep in the water until over 200 years later. Over 200 years later, Swedish divers went exploring, found the ship, brought up stuff. Oh my God, they brought up some blue and white ceramics. Oh, so pretty. And then they found smaller blue and white ceramic containers. And they're, everybody's feeling happy. They open it up. And what did they find in there? They found this tea in there. Imagine that. Was it drinkable? Oh, not only was it drinkable, it was good. So this is like proof, as if I needed it, but it's nice to have proof that you can age green tea under the right conditions. Right conditions, underwater, sealed tight, nice and cool, even temperature all along the way. Good. No, not good. Great green tea. So both the Chinese and the Swedish were surprised. This is really good. And so what the Swedes decided to do is, based on drawings from the original ship, rebuild a replica. So between 1992 and 2004, they spent time researching, and building, got the ship all going. Then in 2006, they set sail. Where did they set sail for? They replicated the trip along the maritime Silk Road into Canton. Chinese were waiting there, landed. They had this tea as the lead tea that they were providing. And, photographers and historians and leaders put it on the ship. 10 months later, it lands in Sweden. And who's there? King Carl XVI, Gustav, and Hu Jintao, the leader of China at that time. And this time when it came in port, and everybody's cheering and everything, and it made it actually to destination. And King Carl and Hu Jintao got on the ship. They set up a place to have the tea. They had the tea on the ship. They had this tea. So just because you haven't heard of it, and just because your research doesn't say, oh, this is a really famous tea, doesn't mean that this isn't a really famous tea. And you wait until you hear all the details about this, And you'll really wonder why you haven't heard of this before. And you'll see you can't research your way into knowledge of how to do tea business and how to understand where to get the teas. Yeah.
Peter asked, and let us know whether now is a good time to answer his question. But
Yeah.
Peter asked, can you comment about the picture you sent of the tilled area? Were they about to replant tea bushes?
I will comment on that. I'll comment on that a little bit. I'm right in the middle of a heavy story here, but I won't forget that question. All right. So, where again does this tea come from? Now, those of you who went with us on the trip this year will be surprised to know not very far from Johua Mountain. There's another set of mountains there close by where this tea comes from. And in fact, they call this the abode of the immortals. Is this just some fancy name they made up recently to, for real estate purposes? Hey, you want to move to the abode of the immortals? Answer is no. Historically, for a long, long time, hey, let's define long because, long means different things to different people. Let's say for 1,500 to 2,000 years, this area has been the abode of the immortals. Nice place to be, right? It's beautiful. So aside from being picturesque, and aside from nice streams, beautiful gorges, they have the so-called Jade Gorge that runs through there, and it has to do with light and on the water, and it looks like there's a ribbon of jade when you look at it from certain. This place is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. It is treasured in China as a great site to visit. But much like the Wui Mountains, I ask you this. Are there hordes and hordes of people like on the Yellow Mountains going and standing for 2 hours before they get in line to get on a bus to go stand for 2 more hours and then get to destination? No. This place is under-visited. It should be visited much more often. There's a particular village where this comes from. So let's back up a minute and then we'll get to Peter's question about the picture because there's something important about that picture. But I'm not quite there. I'm almost there. I first have to go to the Dragon Well area. This is called detour. No. Let's call this digression. In the Dragon Well area, there's lots of places near Hangzhou to get Dragon Well, right? Do we just wander into any odd village? Oh, I want a little bit of this Dragon Well from your village and a little bit from that village. The answer to that would be no. We know from tea scientists and tea industry, no, don't go to this place. Don't go to that place. That place is beautiful. And if you want something very affordable, you can go to that place. But if you want the best, you go to this place. This is how we find these places. The picture that looks like it's going to be replanted, it is. More importantly, you should be looking at the soil. That is really characteristic of the soil in the particular village where this comes from. Now, you know me. I love playing in dirt. And although I try and control myself, I don't talk about dirt often enough. We should talk about this dirt because this dirt is rich in a particular mineral. And there are 4 places in China where soil is at least 10 times richer in the following mineral than anywhere else, and that's selenium. Now, is selenium a good thing or a bad thing? Selenium is toxic when it's not in the right form, so it's a bad thing. But it's great when it's in the bioavailable form. Then it's a very health-giving thing. Maybe this village can paint an example of how health-giving it is. Since the founding of China, nobody in this village, not one person, has gotten cancer. Huh. This sounds like this should be a blue zone. I don't think it's colored on any map as a blue zone, but gosh, while nobody's looking, I'd sneak a little blue in this area because this sounds like a pretty good place. Abode of the Immortals has a good name. No cancer. Cancer's afraid to come here. No. Let's not say it that way. Let's say that current science understands that somehow this bioavailable selenium is creating conditions for no cancer. They even have something more amazing that happened. Some person had cancer in the 80s and thought, okay, this is it. The big C. You know what I want to do? I want to go, if I'm going to go anyway, in the big G way, I might as well go live in the abode of the immortals, right? I mean, let me experience a little of that before I get to heaven. This person went there, drank the water, drank the tea, ate the vegetables and fruit from there, didn't travel, just led this existence of just trying to relax and live out their last years because they thought it was terminal. 5 years later, they're still living. That's good. They're living the good life, as it turns out. Went back and got examined, no cancer. Does that prove anything for you and me? It proves that good stories always exist. That, at a minimum, is what it proves. Why is there this relationship? Nobody knows for sure. So I don't want everybody rushing to book the ticket. When are you going to that village again? You don't have to. We have the tea here. So no need to go to that village. But I tell you, the next time we do go to that village, we're going to advertise Abode of the Immortals. And then you can all get excited. Yeah, I want that trip. The scientists from China have been looking really, really, really hard at this issue. And they're looking at it this way. There are 5 places in China that are rich in, the soil is rich in selenium. 3 of them grow famous teas. This one in particular has this incredible streak of apparent health-giving benefits. Can we directly just say, yeah, this cures cancer? No, you can't. So let's not come away from this broadcast feeling, oh, he discovered something. We did not discover something. All we see and all I'm giving you is anecdotal evidence, not even evidence, an anecdotal set of stories around this village. We've heard this, by the way, before because we've heard it with Brazil nuts, haven't we? because Brazil nuts are rich in selenium. Brazil nuts have an advantage and disadvantage all in the same nut. And it's this way. If you have self-control, and who among us do? All of you do, I know. Sadly, as an understudy, I have less than anybody else's self-control. If there's a bowl of Brazil nuts and I'm told to eat one every day,
One
and
bowl,
one
right?
oh,
Oh,
I did not say one bowl. Thank you for the clarification. One nut only. By day 2, what will be your visual experience of coming to visit me? God, this guy has no self-control. One nut daily and the whole bowl is empty. That's a bad thing. You can overdose on selenium. So that's why doing it through tea is so much better, because apparently the dosage in tea is such that you can't overdose unless you're having, 10 or 12 cups of tea a day. And even then, we're not quite sure, because here's what we don't know. There are other elements in tea, and perhaps they're acting synergistically with the selenium. And maybe this is the perfect combination of catechins and selenium and other polyphenols. And it's in this one tea leaf that it is the best. And you're getting the best result. We don't know. And so that's the real answer and the real thing I want you to take away from this. However, the other thing I want you to take away from this is, could you have researched your way into this? This is not talked about. If you know tea scientists and tea elite, yeah, you can find this stuff. Short of that, why do we have this here? And to the best of our knowledge, nowhere else in the US do you have this. I ask you this, why? How did that happen? We didn't do research, seminal research, like people here. We didn't use AI. We used, going back to last week, we used the resource of the group who helped us understand, here's a small varietal that's very interesting. Oh, by the way, it tastes good. It tastes really good. It's not bitter and so forth. So it can fit on your board. And as a footnote, here's all these other things that we're working on right now to understand. This is the benefit of this. All right. Now that all of you are convinced that any doubts about loving green tea are now gone, now that all of you just are totally in love with green tea, we have a unity here. Let's go ahead and let's have the tea master show us how to get all that selenium. Well, I guess we're not supposed to get all of it, but to get the right proportion of the selenium.
the tastiest proportion of selenium.
There you go. The tastiest portion of selenium. And let's see if this tea is any good. So, without further ado, let's bring the numinous tea master to show you how to bring unity to your lives. Biju.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, with you, the wild green tea, huh? This is from the, yeah. From that one.
Small variety.
Small, yeah.
Now, one of the things is you watch her do this, and you'll see this when you do it yourself. look at the size of the buds. These are, in order to qualify for this grade of unity, have to be at least a half-inch long. These are long leaves, buds. So we go through the usual preparation. We get ourselves into enjoying tea mode rhythm. Going ahead, drying the water, heating the cup. Making sure our tea rock is in good position. They see as the tea master is doing this, I don't think she's thinking about selenium at all. I think she's just in tea rhythm.
Peter observes the leaves have an interesting looking roll.
They do. That's a good catch on this. These are some of the most unique leaves that we've seen. And there's a specific oh, I see. Yes. I should be showing you the leaves. There's a specific process to do this. They take one extra step before the bake and after the actual frying to deactivate the enzyme. And it's called pulling the needle. And it's only within this village, and that's what produces this particular look. And yeah, green tea. Oh, it's not just green tea. All the teas are endlessly interesting because every local tea farmer does something a little different. And by the way, that's a great comment because was the art of this tea lost for some years? It was never lost. It just wasn't practiced. And then in 1990 or in 1980, which 80 year I can't remember, they started in connection with scientists to redo this tea. So remembering that as China, New China arose, they faced lots of challenges. And one of the challenges was getting everything stable. Well, getting everything stable was the first step, and then recovering the history was the second step. And this is part of the history of China. It's a very important part of the history of China because not only is it the history overall of tea, but it's the history of tea from Anhui province. Huizhou tea. This is that so-called Huizhou culture. Now, all right, so tea master's gone through that. You see, oh, and I'm reminded, I still don't have the answer to Peter's question. This is embarrassing. I said I'd have it this week, and suddenly, as I see all these leaves at the top, I realize I forgot to check this. So, this is actually a way to keep you coming for next week. Next week, I will have the answer when we do the third green tea undergrowth out of the series. This tea, so obviously at the high ends of the government, they know this tea, don't they? And they used it in ceremony with Sweden in 2006. They've continued to produce, and most of this tea is consumed by local people. It is not widely distributed in China, although people who know about this can go there and they can get it, but it's not easy. You have to know about it. And how do you know about things? Well, you know about them either through tea scientists being connected to the tea literati or through us. That's how you know about it. It's real simple. Let's see, I said that for 2 minutes. Yes, I did set that for 2 minutes. So this is beautiful. Most of these nicely rolled leaves are at the top. And it's almost time, so I might have the team master go ahead as this goes off and separate.
It's a relatively short brew on this first brew, right?
Yes, 2 minutes. Okay. Nice color. Light green. I'm going to enter the tea arena, tea quality arena. Okay, I feel that astringency, nice aftertaste. Wow. Got an incredible flavor. It's your turn to enter the quality arena. Lots of things I could say about it, but it's better if you said them. Good.
Goodness. Thank you.
Your turn to brew.
你刚有看到这个含锡量这个茶叶里。Yeah.
So one of the things to think about, and again, showing a picture of the soil color and so forth, is how different all of these areas are in terms of what the soil looks like, and in terms of what the variety of benefits are. And when you think about, well, I want to drink tea for health benefits, say that's your starting position. And we would nod our heads and say that's a great starting position. And then we would follow it up with the following statement. We would say, drink all the styles of tea, because more and more information is coming about each style. And we believe, we don't know this to be a fact, but we believe that drinking all the styles, all the categories of tea will give you an overall incredible benefit. So if that is your objective, think about it that way. Think about, and that's certainly how we think about it here. We drink all the styles of tea, not necessarily all in a day, but certainly within the week, we're drinking every single style of tea. And because we don't have a crystal ball to tell us which one exactly. And I don't think there is one which takes care of all issues. But I think the combination, it's kind of like diet, right? Is there a superfood? Can you eat raspberries all day, every day, and that solves all the problems? Or blueberries, that's the one. Get all that blueness in you. Your skin turns all blue. Does that make you live forever? The answer is no. It has to be in combination with all the good foods.
One Brazil nut.
There you go. 1 Brazil nut and 3 blueberries.
3 blueberries. And then I'd rather eat raspberries all day.
Well, I actually would rather eat raspberries too. However, I follow the science. So this tea, how did it get from Anhui to Guangzhou? How did they get it down there? They had a route, and this route was through the mountains where they carried it on their backs through this extremely steep trail. By the way, does this trail still exist today? This trail is well over 1,000 years old. It still exists today. Extremely rigorous. And actually, when we were thinking of where to take people, we did think about Abode of the Immortals, but we also thought about, oh my God, some of these places are really, really hard. Let's start with the Yellow Mountains first and get that taken care of before we go to this place. But over time, we actually are looking at some point to take people to this area. This is a beautiful area. All right, timer has gone off. Separating the tea leaves from the tea water. Creating a beautiful cup of tea with that color, just a fabulous color. Slightly greenish.
Jeremy comments, the tea leaves have a uniform long rule look, unity in design.
Hey, I love that. Unity in design. And this is more on the point than you even realize, because it's not an accident. The farmers, when they're producing this grade, and it comes down to the processors, is really what I should say, is they sorted out on purpose to be about that 1/2 inch. Or if it's going to be 3/4 of an inch, so it's either the 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch. And they make sure, especially at the highest grades, to get them unified. Unity by design. Love that comment, Jeremy. Right on the money. So emperors were drinking this probably since the Sung dynasty. This actually, in the classical volumes, was listed at the same level as Dragonwell and some of the other various famous teas. In fact, there's a poem from the Sung dynasty that you couldn't really break out the teas until this one arrived, because this one was so famous. But again, who hears about this and who knows about this unless you go to this place or you have experience with small varietals? China is about all these small varietals, 7,500 varietals and 10 famous teas. Are you kidding me? There are 7,500 famous teas for different reasons. Yes.
Cindy observes, I've noticed that many of the green tea leaves show up in a needle shape? Question mark. Why and is that the most common for green tea?
Great question. So Cindy asked, in her observations, quite frequently, green tea shows up in the needle shape. And if you contrast it with everything except white and yellow tea, the other styles don't normally show up in a needle shape. Needle shape in some way is the easiest to handle. And what do I mean by that? You do the least amount of rolling when it's in needle shape. You essentially get it flat and that's it. So to some degree, it could be argued that this is a convenience thing. On the other hand, when you think about it, sometimes there is an implied other meaning, but it's not across China. It's by village. There's an aesthetic by village, and it's not driven by function. It's not driven by anything else I know. Great question. Yeah.
Jin E observes nice warm scent of a fresh field, but not densely green. There are light hints of lemongrass and light florals.
Oh, this comment, Jen, is so on target. Light hints of floral, light hints of lemongrass. It's like a field of green. It's not, you know how so many people predefine green tea. Oh, yeah, it's this bitter thing, or it's this intensely grassy thing. No, it's not. By varietal, you get all these shades, just like with the cliff teas, just like with the yellow teas. All of them have different emphasis points. And this one is nowhere like anybody thinks of a traditional green tea. Great catch. Yeah.
Jen E also observes the flavor in the tea water is a balanced out version of the scent, with the grassy flavor being even more softened. I'd put this on my a green tea that Jen would drink again list.
I love this. Jenny gives the green tea, Jenny green seal of green tea approval for this tea. Not too grassy, all the flavors and aromas balanced, making for an experience that overall is kind of like an orchestral version of flavors for green tea. Great, great catch on that. Yeah.
Rob comments, I had to lower the volume to detect the subtleties in the scent of the tea water. It is very clean, round, a salt-free ocean, some hints of vegetal, umami, malt, and a mellow sweetness.
So just like Jen, an orchestral version, Rob brings the
Mellow sweetness, malt, umami, vegetality.
sweetness, malt, no salt, ocean, umami, just a clean feel. And I love these two comments together, especially Rob started right away with clean. So, and Jen, orchestral, clean, orchestral. And Rob also said, lower the volume. I catch where he's going with that because everything is in concert. It's together and balanced. Great commentary.
Peter says, I find this eminently drinkable, not distracting if in company, but a rich and truly balanced tapestry of attributes that wait to be burrowed into, and also a building astringency so I can't get too distracted by company.
I like this. Peter talks about a building astringency, really a balance again of all these flavors, a deepness to dig into and kind of discover what this balance is about. Energetically, there's an implication that there's a huge amount of energy to be found in this tea. Great comment. So the one thing that if I had regrets, I don't have regrets, but if I had them, I wish I had been in Sweden when they uncovered the jars that had the sealed tea in it, because that would have been something I really would have liked to have tasted. And knowing me, if any of it had been for sale, even for $1 million, I would have purchased and we would have had it in the vault back here. This is, I'm imagining, just like last week with Emerald Gates, where you get all the deepening of these flavors. I'm thinking that if this is sealed properly, not stored properly for 200 years, this would be an incredible treasure. Yes.
Rob says, I last tasted this tea 3 years ago. Back then, I gave it my second highest rating. This time, I give it my highest rating.
This is great. So, Rob, and I love this about all of you who are taking notes. Rob has this system. I love his system because from the first day in here, he took notes, recorded, and then goes back and regularly reviews. So 3 years ago, he gave this its second highest rating for green tea. Today, it outranks all the other green teas.
Jennifer observes the sense of soft, sweet loam keeps occurring to me rather than grassy hay with this green tea.
Love this comment. Jennifer has soft, sweet loam. You know, I normally would have a hard time accepting loam associated with green tea, but not this one. Not this one at all. And really, when you think about and go back to all of these comments, starting with Jenny and going through all of them, that there is an orchestra of flavors. You have to dig in and find it because it's balanced. And Jennifer has found that loam and she's put it in just the right way and context for, yeah, there is a soft loam in this. Yeah.
Peter shares, it feels like this is also balanced energetically. It opened up all my senses at the same time.
This is great. Peter talks about balanced energetically and opening up all the senses. He said that comment in exactly the right order, because if he had stopped and said only balanced energetically, that wouldn't have quite been the case. Opening up all the senses, that's what I'm finding with this, that again, you can tell that we've had this for a bit because it's not cooling at all. It is absolutely warming, and it is an uplift, huge uplift. Yes.
Jeremy says, tasty, juicy, easy swallow, warming to the core, releases inner strengths, tiny astringency with comfortable lifetime aromas.
This is great. Tiny astringency, releasing inner strength. I really love this releasing inner strength, and that dovetails with Peter's comment about opening all the energy senses and the warmingness that Jeremy put in there. The other thing which is great about Jeremy's comment is juicy, easy to drink. Look at this. Well, you know me, lack of self-control. Even if I had better control, this still would have gone down to about this position. Yeah.
Rob says, this tea is so good that I'm concerned that the tea is dreaming the drinker.
Love this. Rob's ultimate Taoist comment. He's concerned that the tea is dreaming the drinker. Love this comment. Absolutely. Yeah.
Jeremy adds, totally agree with loam. Miasma, nothing but everything earth specific.
Oh, this is a really interesting comment. So Jeremy is talking about in agreement with that soft loam, and then she talks about earth.
Nothing, it's like it's like nothing specific, but everything earth specific.
Everything earth specific. And I love this comment. And I would add to that, it feels, and I think all of you, now that we've had this discussion, very elemental. At first, you don't get that. And so Jen's opening comments were great because it's orchestral. And then when you think about energetically and linking everything together, it's extremely elemental. All right. Wow. And we're a little early today. I love early. I love the fact that we've done these teas in this order. And I really like it because it's helping clear up misunderstandings about how we give teas, misunderstandings about how we grasp the tea market, misunderstandings about how things show up on the board. And this is important because you hear all sorts of commentary, and usually we just let that go through, but I can't let that go through anymore because some of that commentary suggests that, oh, I could replicate this. And the answer is no, you can't. What replicates this is belonging to the group, being part of the group, and interacting in such a way that the group informs you, hey, there's something missing from your experience. Try this. And this is kind of at the top of that. When this was pointed out to us, it's like, oh my God, why didn't we find this before? And then we knew right away, oh, no. The group always helps us find what's critical. All right. We've been up here kind of in tea heaven. Oh, I just love being in tea heaven. I wish I could just reside here all the time. Nonetheless, I'm looking at my schedule of assignments. This is probably how Mercury's or Hermes, the god, one of the Greek gods, felt, thinking, here I am in heaven, and Zeus is always giving me these assignments to run off here and run off there. Well, my assignment next week is to descend from heaven and be in the undergrowth. Next week, we experience undergrowth. Your responsibilities this week: be unified, stay really, really healthy. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.